I think part of the reason why I'm able to work with your district, I was able to get approval for this program is because of the message that I'm trying to pass.
These are students from 3 secondary schools in the mainland area of Lagos State. They came to see the exhibition of Obi Nwaegbe titled Who Are We? This multimedia artist has resolved to paint a picture of a mobile and progressive Africa in the minds of all.
I think of trajectory when I make my art, and I think that today that Africa has to be projected in the light of what it has become. As the exhibition says, who are we? You know, that's the question. I try to create a fantasy about Africa and about Nigeria specifically. If, for example, we didn't have that colonial experience, what could Nigeria have become? I'm thinking that maybe we could have had our own writing specific philosophies, running our corporate governance. And so what I try to do is to see how much of what and who we are that we can retain. It's not so much about costume, which is why, if you notice, most of my works actually celebrate more global oriented costumes, you know, suits, t-shirts and all that. These are things that are acceptable everywhere. It's not about how you dress, it's about who you are inside. I've designed cities that have inscriptions that are indigenous. In this case, the eastern Nigeria where I grew up, I created a fantasy of a city that was not affected by colonialism, in which the corporate and political governors are applying best practices when it comes to business and, of course, in presentation, but who have not lost a sense of their history and who they are, that they are even designing their entire branding around their culture, which is Uli.
He employed the medium of acrylic on canvas, metal, nails, and plywood in the execution of his work. This is one artist who's inspired by everything that goes on around him. The rich banquet of colors on his canvases speaks about hope.
The question of hope is very important, because what I'm trying to do is to create a kind of counter-narrative to the gloom that Nigeria has come to be defined by in terms of the activities that go on around the country. So my colors are offensive against the darkness that many of the dark forces around in Nigeria are trying to impose on it.
He has a knack for recycling waste materials.
These cans are proceeds from events that I have organized in my own residence or in my studio. And when I look at the process of waste, government has a mechanism for disposing. Before then, you usually have these truck pushers that come to pick up waste. I was always in the habit of handing over the organic waste to them to go and dispose. But I do not want to give them this one because I am keenly aware that they do not dispose these things properly. So let me convert them to valuable artwork. It's a lifelong ambition to treat children. I've done that with children with special needs before. So the moment I began to do this one, I said, okay, this is time for children to start thinking positively about the environment. The title of the unit is Off-Duty Chronicles. That's the title. These are people who are through with the day's work and they are relaxing. They are also partaking in the production of the waste. I would say that this is just a typical depiction of a cerebral Nigerian. The newspaper cuttings, yeah, they are actually part of the entire narrative about the environment. You know, you find colors here of acrylic, which is a conventional medium, and then you find the fabric. There's nothing that stops me from, I can paint exactly this fabric if I wanted, but I'm not doing justice to the issue of waste that I'm trying to propagate.
This Department of Fine and Applied Arts, University of Nigeria trained artist, chose this career path early in life.
In his primary 3, Obi did a painting that my father liked, you know, and my father paid him 500 naira because my dad didn't have any talent for fine arts at all. So he was shocked that how can I give birth to somebody who is so talented in fine arts? So he paid him 500 naira. And after a while, my father came back again and said, this painting is so beautiful. I gave him another 500 naira. And after a short while again, he came back and gave me a third 500 naira. So he made 1,500 from that small painting. I didn't understand it so much then though. Then Obi began to ask himself, I guess, how can I earn 1,500 for this small thing, you know? And then he started making cards, and he started, and my father's friends bought, people began to encourage him. That was how it all started.
His octogenarian mother says she's always giving her nods to his good choices.
Yes, I'm happy for him. God has chosen that line for him. His name is heard all over Nigeria, so I'm so happy.
Mrs. Tola Akerele of Soto Gallery in southwest Ikoyi, Lagos, played host to Obi Nwaegbe.
I met Obi when we had a platform called I Design Art, where we showcased quite a few different artists, up to 30 artists. It's like an art platform. And when I saw Obi's pieces, I was always intrigued. I have a couple myself. I love his work. I went to studio in Abuja. I was really blown away by what he was doing. He had so much depth and interest and originality to his work. So it was just so obvious. He talked about coming to Lagos, doing a solo. And I said, when I open my gallery, you will do a solo.
Obi Nwaegbe is passionate about the next generation.
I've always seen my art as much more than just commerce. And in looking at public enlightenment, who are those being positioned for tomorrow's leadership? Of course, you find them amongst the elite children and in their schools. And it is my belief that they are being adequately taken care of. And I want those in the public schools. Because either way you look at it, those in these private schools are not more intelligent than those in the public schools. So I believe that they should also have as much access to the information that those in other privileged schools and societies are getting.
Ministry of Education, Lagos State, always creates an enabling environment for the students in the state to excel.
Everybody's talking about eco smart, eco this, climate change, everything. And this is quite different from the usual thing we see in arts.
Class practice is not enough at all, because I used to tell my students that it's good to go out to learn more, like where we are now. Some of them really learned a lot.
The youngsters are happy about this opportunity.
I was expecting to see maybe sculpture and other artworks, but when I got here, I saw something that really impressed me, to the extent that even as a student, I've never seen something like this before.
He said it's a board that he used at the back. Then he said after that, he draws on it. Then after drawing on it, he used this can. And I also learned that we shouldn't be throwing away our, let's say, cans anyhow, because it will always block our drainage system.
I've learned a lot, because let me say, in society now, people are listening to that. They have some misconception about art. They are taking it to another thing. But today I've learned the importance of art.
I learned a lot of things here. Okay, first of all, when I came here, I noticed that the environment here is very good. And with everything that I've seen, the paintings on the wall and the drawings and everything, it has increased my interest in art.
Art is an expression of life, and when I came here, I saw beautiful, fine artworks here. Also, if I will go back to my school, what I'll share to my friends is I always allow them to know that they should always discover their passion.
Actually, when I walked into here, what I saw wowed me. Like the artwork and everything around us was absolutely beautiful.
I learned a lot of things, because since from childhood, I've been seeing a lot of things like minerals, can, all those things. I was looking at them like, how can they use this kind of thing to make something?
I learned that you can make art from waste products.
Visual arts has taken Obi Nwaegbe to different parts of the world. He believes that living in Nigeria is the best for him.
I think there's just something about my nature that seeks to be a calm in the storm. I don't have any problem with living elsewhere. I was in Ghana very briefly at some point. I am very global in thinking, but I want my stage to be Nigeria.
Obi Nwaegbe is a focused contemporary artist who loves Nigeria to bits.